Hello, Rev.
Hi, Kat. Are you ready to talk about some fairies tonight?
I am, and I am so glad to be back home, back in my little recording area, and ready to talk about some fairies.
Awesome. I'm ready for it.
Okay, let's do a quick intro. Hi, guys. Welcome to SJ Masterclass, a podcast where two friends and avid readers are working to build an encyclopedia of the universe written by Sarah J. Maas, one series at a time, cross-referencing as we go through the texts. We will discuss themes, characters, plot points throughout the Maasverse and wherever our conversation takes us. This week, we're looking at chapters 21 through 25 of A Court of Thorns and Roses. I'm Kat, one of your hosts, an ER nurse by day, a cat mom, reader, and knitter the rest of the time.
Hi, guys. I'm Rev. Each episode, we're going to start with a brief review of the chapters that we're focusing on for this chapter chunk, and then we're going to get into all the details. This podcast will be extremely spoiler heavy, as we have said, for both ACOTAR and SJM's other works, so listen at your own risk. We're excited to be in the world's best book club, and we hope you guys want to join along. Kat, do you want to get us started with a chapter review and catch us up with where Feyre is and what our friends are up to?
I do, but before that, Rev, last week, maybe about 3/4 of the way through the episode, I said I had a question for you, and we kind of got sidetracked. I got really excited. I want to ask the question now. Given the chapters we read last week, who would be your fan cast for Tamlin and Lucien if they were to do a live action for this?
Okay, so.
And send me the pictures. Also, guys, we will be putting the pictures that we reference up on our Instagram at SJMAASTERCLASS. Rev, who would you fan cast?
So I have to say, this is not who I am dreaming, like, oh my God, I hope this is what Tamlin looks like, or I hope this is what Lucien looks like. It's when I'm reading the book, kind of the face that I envision, not who I want them to be, but who I think they are. Tamlin is this picture of Liam Hemsworth.
Oh, good option.
I know.
I haven't even
Like,
seen the picture yet, but Liam Hemsworth. He might not be Witcher, but he's a Tamlin.
It's not the Witcher. It's more like clean cut, but like not Witcher long white hair, but like Witcher long blonde hair, but like this face. And then, I'm about to send you who I think is Lucien. I think is Prince Harry. Your face! Like, when I picture Lucien with that mask on and the red hair, I always picture somebody looking very similar to Prince Harry.
I love it. I love it. Here's the thing. I did not even consider Prince Harry. He's royalty. He's not an actor. 1,000%. Yes. I love it. And I am here for Liam Hemsworth.
You always are.
Lucien. I'm a Hemsworth girl. What can I say? So my first one is, I'm sending them to you now. These are my two Tamlins. The first one is Brad Pitt in Troy.
Okay.
Because he's got the long hair.
I don't even have the picture yet, but I know it in my head. I see it.
And the other one is the guy who plays Reacher. I haven't watched Reacher, but like I've seen enough clips of it. I feel like I would love it. I would appreciate it if you did not laugh at my first consideration for Lucien. So my first consideration, you got
that
my Brad Pitt one.
Is real Tamlin.
It's given real Tamlin vibes.
It is.
My first Lucien is David Wenham, who was Faramir in Lord of the Rings.
Like I do not know who he is. Yep.
He's perfect. And the second one is
perfect.
Domhnall Gleeson. I feel like he would be a really great Lucien. And he's kind of like the age appropriate for it right now.
I feel like Domhnall Gleeson is more of a Lucien than David Wenham, but I mean, I'm send me somebody a picture in Lord of the Rings. I'm
Yeah.
never saying no.
No.
Oh,
I
I love those.
but
I
I'm
love all
really
4 of those.
if only this was 20 years ago for Brad Pitt, because he would have been a great Tamlin.
Let's get into the chapter review.
Let's get it. Last week, we ended with Feyre meeting the most beautiful man she had ever seen, aka Rhysand. We don't know his name yet, but we do learn he's not with the Spring Court. After that, we find out like she's gone to Calanmai. Lucien finds her wandering around and brings her back to the manor where we learn the details of Calanmai. Essentially, it's a Fey orgy that is meant to bring magic back from the land and reinvigorate spring. Tamlin performs a ritual as the High Lord of the Spring Court. Feyre bumps into him in the hallway and he bites her. That's weird. Uh, they have breakfast together. There's some banter. We see Feyre starting to find peace in Prythian and acclimating to this fairy world. She starts wearing dresses for the first time. We learn more about Alice. And Feyre and Tamlin are definitely starting to form that relationship. I think you mentioned it last week, but we are definitely starting to get the character arcs and we're starting to form the romances between Feyre and Tamlin. So they have their date. She shows him her art. They go on another date where Tamlin takes the glamour away and we can see Alice as she truly is. Lucien reveals that there have been Fae around the whole time. Feyre finds a head on a fountain with the sigil of the Night Court. So now we are introduced to the Night Court. And we learn that there's now a summer solstice. So we're kind of having two fairy get-togethers. Feyre is gaining weight. She's starting to feel healthy. She's starting to look healthy. She gets drunk on fairy wine and dances with Tamlin, who's playing a fiddle. It's not a euphemism. And it ends with him taking her to see the sunrise, and she's thinking that this is the happiest moment of her life. Why don't you get us into the nitty-gritty of chapters 21 through 25?
Yeah, I'm really excited to start into my first point. There's a quote, and I'm going to try and summarize it. All the High Lords of Prythian perform the Great Rite every year.
What does that mean?
Who does
yes.
Rhys sleep with?
Does that mean all of the other High Lords are there? We
So
only see
the
Rhys.
next page, so it's 193 to 194 in our paperbacks. On page 194, Lucien says it is not the Great Rite when other people do it, but the Fae that are not the High Lords also have their own dalliances. I've heard dalliances in other fiction, but it does specifically say on 193, all the High Lords of Prythian perform the Great Rite every year. Who is Rhys sleeping with? But here's also the difference. Tamlin is the one that seems out of his mind. Rhys seems completely in his mind. So we contrast and compare, right? Contrast is the differences, compare are the similarities. 193 to 194. If the other Fae can also have dalliances and it helps this ceremony, that's a compare, I guess, like a similarity that like other people get to sleep with other people. But then the contrast appears that Tamlin is not of his own mind and Rhys is. But then there's also this all the High Lords perform the Great Rite every year. So that was my question to you. This is my book club question. What is your take on this? Who does Rhys sleep with?
So I also asked this exact same question because of the way it is phrased. We do this by conducting the Great Rite. Each of the 7 High Lords of Prythian performs this every year since their magic comes from the earth and returns to it at the end. It's a give and take. Does that mean that they perform Calanmai? Or does the summer court have this same thing? Because Alice says that the summer court used to have the summer solstice, but things have changed. So was it the summer court had the High Lord of the Summer Court did something similar then, because we know Rhys has Starfall or Starfell. Is that his version of Calanmai? I feel like this is really up in the air, and I feel like this might be Sarah J. Maas writing book 1 of a series, not knowing where she's going to go. I just don't feel like all of the courts are present for here. Why do we not see any of them? Why do we only see 2 High Lords, and one of them is not pointed out until pages and pages and chapters later? Because why would, the other question, why would it matter if the High Lord of the Night Court or the High Lord of the Dusk Court performs a ritual? They don't care about the Spring Court, and this is specifically to get the Spring Court power back because it's from the earth and all of this. To follow this, when we first meet Rhys in this same chapter, he says to Feyre, all of the monsters have been let out of their cages tonight, no matter what court they belong to, so I may roam wherever I wish until the dawn. So is he saying, High Lord or not, I'm able to come out because I'm a monster? There's a lot of questions I have about Calanmai, and I feel like we will not get the answers until, 1, we read on and see what Rhys has to say about it, or 2, we finally get Tamlin's book and we learn more about it there. But I had these same questions.
I had a lot of questions as well about when Rhys says all of the animals have been let out of their cages. It's just such a broad statement. Is he saying that they are all wild and none of them can be trusted? And he's saying that to Feyre in a way that makes her maybe not trust Tamlin as much, even if it means that Feyre doesn't trust Rhysand as much. He's putting it out there. He knows that they're going to be mates, so he can cover that ground. But to make sure that she doesn't get with Tamlin like too close or get too hurt by Tamlin by thinking that Tamlin is a mate. Like, does he say that to make her distance herself from everyone, especially knowing what happens after that Tamlin shows her his beast behavior, which goes on to like one of my next things, which is like a 4-part topic, but like I could just jump into that or we could continue on to this topic.
I just want to quickly address this because I took this to mean a different interpretation, because the idea of the monsters being released from their cages, the way I took this was once a year, Amarantha lets her favorite pets out from under the mountain. We know that people are trapped under the mountain. They haven't been able to see their courts, their friends, their family for almost 50 years. But Rhysand is different. He's her plaything. He has given her what he needs to have the freedoms that he does.
Like, as in he's earned it.
Sure.
He's given her what she needs from him to earn a little bit of freedom.
He has performed what he needs to. We later kind of learn, it's kind of a joke amongst the fandom, right? Where he's constantly feeling like he's dirty. There's a lot of sexual oppression and a lot of sexual assault PTSD that comes with Rhys later on. We learn that he is giving his body to her because she makes him. And a lot of times he does things, we learn, that he didn't want to, and he considers himself a monster. So I think it's so interesting that the terminology he uses is all of the monsters have been let out, including himself. He knows what he's doing is wrong. He knows what he has done and will do is wrong because he is a monster for her, for his people. And I just think that it was this was part of my foreshadowing, because he's seeing himself as a monster, himself as something broken. And this is our very first little inkling of him referencing to himself.
So when I read The Monsters Are Out Tonight, the first connection I make is Tamlin bites her on her neck, how predators hunt their food, like predator animals. It's kind of like he's a monster. Okay, I will give you your pin or your
Yep.
theory in just a second. This one action is so literal and figurative at the same time of
Mhm.
who Tamlin truly is.
He's a beast.
Then Feyre wears clothing the next day when she goes to breakfast with Lucien and Tamlin to show off the bruise. She acts like she's mad, and then Tamlin blames her for his actions. He's like, well, if she has a death wish and she can't follow orders, then she deserves what she gets. I hate to keep harping on the topic of toxic relationships, but this is stereotypical. Thank you, SJM, for just laying it out flat for all of our young teen, young adult readers. This is what abuse looks like. And we're going to keep going into this. This is one of 4 topics. But then, like, first of all, I want to know what you were thinking and what you have written down. And second of all, my question is, why do you think SJM wrote the scene in this way and that Tamlin blames her and it's so obvious? And I have an idea of why I think she wrote it this way, but please go ahead with your at least one point and answer to my question.
So my pin, is there anyone, oh, it's actually a question to you. Is there any other time in the SJ Masterverse that someone bites someone?
I'm sure Cassian bites Nesta at some point in time, but
I'm thinking of when Rowan bites Aelin. When they are arguing, it's a crossover. He bites her in her neck.
but when he does it, it's to mark her as his mate.
Nope. Remember?
Yeah, he bites her and then other people see it and they're
Not
like, oh.
The first time he bites her, and that's when he finds out about Kale. And he's like, I shouldn't have done that. Remember, it's like when they're practicing or they're sparring, and she makes him
she's
so
at that little
angry.
mini castle, like below.
Yes, and he bites her, and he's like, I should never have done that. I crossed a line. I would never do that again. But he does it because he is so angry at her. And in this instance, Tamlin is like, you were told to stay in your room. I'm going to show you what happens when you don't do what you were told.
He literally says that. If you can't follow orders, you deserve it.
2 sides of the same coin. These strong male characters biting the female characters. I think it's a crossover.
And they do it in a way that is like very predatory. Like David Attenborough, when he is narrating all of these like earth animals, nature, when predators attack prey, when they are feeding, they always get them right here in the neck. And whether it's to kill them because they get to rip out their throat, or whether it's just to put them, that's kind of what Tamlin is doing. And I'm not quite sure of the why. Like, are we just trying to see him, SJM's writing him as the predator that we know he should be as a fae? But it's also like a ownership thing, I think, in that like, she's mine, it's possessive. That's going to play into something that I'm going to say later on with another point. Go ahead with your points.
I think part of it is this is reminding us that we have seen this previous where she thinks Nesta called her this half-wild beast, and she has thought the same thing of Tamlin. We are now seeing it, but we have also been warned by Lucien, this is not the Tamlin that you know. He is going to be a full beast. The magic is going to take over him. And this is something I wanted to talk about, where we learned that magic can take away consent. Has Tamlin's consent, because Tamlin's reason, been taken away, where he is no longer the fae that we are supposed to know? It's so interesting the way that it is put together. But also, you mentioned that she wears the dress the next day. She is happy about it. For the past 4 episodes, we've been talking about identity. And I have so much about the identity of Feyre. But one of the things is she purposely wears a dress to show this off. And she purposely picks the points. Well, he's the one who did it to me. Yeah, do you see it? It's right there. Tamlin did that to me. She is not the scared Feyre of the last 20 chapters. She's leaning into it. She is acclimating to Prythian, and she is acclimating to the spring court.
I have had so many thoughts about this, about her showing it off and being mad about it. But if she's that mad about it, she so quickly accepts the flowers that he gives, the bouquet of white roses. The only thing I can say is when you don't have that much experience and you are in relationships, you make decisions. And that's how you get your experience. This is like what romantasy looks like. And that's not really always the way it is. But I think it's a 19-year-old girl in her first serious relationship where she ever thinks she's been in love. And she's making the best of it. And this, like, literally leads into my third point of this, where I haven't got to 2 or 4. But third point is where we want to bring Lucien into this.
Oh, sure.
Where people on the outside see, maybe, that this is an abusive relationship, but they don't actually believe it. I'm just seeing my friend like at his worst, and we're at year 50, and then here's this girl, and we're just trying to do our best. And then point 3 is, I want you where I can look after you. I want to protect you, and I want to know that you will be there when I'm home. I know when I have a stressful day, I can go home. This chick has made me dinner. She's waiting. Maybe she's painted some things. She is going to be my kept woman, and she is going to make me feel all right when I get home. And then, like, but think about it from Lucien's perspective. How many other people have to see this and also write it off? I should have said something. I guess I'll say something now, and he does, but like, to what end?
Okay, I've got 2 things to respond to these. The first one is I'm going to respond to your Lucien comments because it's one of the themes I wanted to talk about, which was we see a lot of fear in these chapters. The first one is at Calanmai when he sees her out and he's like, oh my God, you are not supposed to be here. If Tamlin finds out, if Tamlin smells you, we are all in trouble. And he brings her back and he's like, you have got to stay in no matter what. We actually see fear from Lucien being like, you can't be out here. You can't be out here. We see it again at the summer solstice. Lucien is the one who's like, please don't drink. This is really bad for you. Tamlin is going to kill me if you are drinking fairy wine and you get drunk. And then she does. And they bump into Tamlin, who's playing a fiddle. But he's like, Tamlin, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it. And Tamlin says, no, it's fine. I'll watch her. This is a toxic and scared relationship. We are seeing fear from Lucien, where he's like, okay, nope. You said it's fine. I'm moving away. I think she has written this very specifically. My other point, and this is one of my foreshadowings, is when you mentioned Tamlin just wants Feyre to be at home. I think the phrase, it's on page 206, he wants her home and safe and painting. That's what he wants in this book. That's what he wants in the next book. And that is ultimately the thing that breaks her. She wants more because she has the ability and she has discovered more about herself. He wants her as he found her. I think we learn who Tamlin is in the first 25 chapters of book 1. Only not Feyre, who is one of the founding females. Go for your pin.
So, one of my big questions with this whole 4-point whole big thing that I told you was going to be big, why do you think SJM writes it this way? Why do each of these people act the way they act, choose to believe the things that they believe?
I have 2 answers. The first one is I think a good author writes every character as though they are not the villain. You are not the villain of your story. You might be the villain of someone else's story. So when we are looking at Tamlin, he's the High Lord of the Spring Court. He has to think about what is best for my court. What is best for my court is having an heir who's going to take over for me. What is good for my court is having stability. But we also know that Tamlin is coming from a tradition of his father, who we knew had slaves, who was on the wrong side of the war, and who was possibly good friends with the Autumn Court, which we know is not a good court. So Tamlin's history, what he has growing up and what his references to are not very open and strong characters. I think she writes this so that there can be such a difference between the Spring Court, which is supposed to be the good guys, versus other characters, the Night Court, for instance, who is the villains of Prythian. But I think that's why she does it.
I have my own different idea of why she writes it like this.
Lay it on me.
ACOTAR specifically is written as a YA novel, a young adult novel. It's a good introduction for people. I'm not saying women, I'm saying all readers to like see this is how sometimes abusive relationships look. They might bring you a bunch of roses and apologize and make you feel like you are the best thing in the world. That's why I think this scene is written as blatant as it is, as stereotypical as it is, because it's a is for YA readers.
And I feel like this is one of the groundwork for the YA romantasy. How many romantasy books have we read since ACOTAR and that have been published since ACOTAR came out that have the good court and the bad court, that have the white court and the black court, that have the Seelie and the Unseelie, that have the good boy and the bad boy?
Seelie and Unseelie.
And they all start off with there's one that's good, there's one that's bad. And then we find out through those books that actually that's not the truth. And I think this is the framework that started it. But also, I think this is one of those instances where we can say the guy you think is going to be the good guy, that Prince Charming, that perfect guy who there can't be anything wrong with him, behind closed doors, you don't know what's actually happening. Okay, you tell me where you want to go. Do we want to go to themes or foreshadowings or crossovers or just talk about, like, I've got so much about these chapters.
I want to go to a theme.
Okay. So I've talked about the fear with Lucien. I wanted to mention Feyre's fear of the Fae seems to be fading, but she's scared of Rhysand. And she's starting to further her fear of the Night Court. It's something worth watching, like her fear specifically.
When she is in the study and she first sees that mural and she's like, I don't ever want to go north. I don't ever want to go to Night Court. And then it gets progressed into this whole skull that she finds. So, let's talk about that as a theme.
But it's even before then when she comes into Prythian and she's like, I'm scared of this place. I'm scared of the Fae. I'm scared of everything. And she's slowly acclimating. She acclimates a lot in these 5 chapters. I'm just going to list a lot of things that happen as far as Feyre is concerned. On page 200, she feels happy and she goes to sleep. 207, she doesn't lock her door for the first time. Page 230, which is the last page of this chapter chunk, it's the happiest moment of her life. 201, she's wearing dresses for the first time in order to show off the bruises, but also for Tamlin. In 203, she's claiming her looks. She no longer looks like her mother. She no longer looks like her sister. Only in Prythian does she look like herself.
And she specifically says that. My eyes. Not my mom's eyes. Not Nessa's eyes. My eyes.
On 221, she notices that she's starting to fill out. She's no longer skin and bone. She's got some weight to her. On 220, she refers to the Spring Court as our court, as opposed to chapters ago when he said, let's go home. And she thinks, well, it's not my home. On page 220, it is officially her home. those are the main things about her identity. I had two more things I wanted to talk about with Feyre, which I hope we will get to. But last episode, I asked, does she ever stop having this identity crisis? I feel like she's no longer questioning who she is or where she is. We have the romance building. We have Feyre coming to grips with who she is.
I think that's 100% right. It's also 100% from a 19-year-old girl who thinks she knows who she is and still has no idea. She's like, I have enough experience. I have done these things in my life. I've been responsible for other people. I have enough life experience to say, this is who I am. But we know the Feyre that we are seeing right now, that's not the Feyre that is the Feyre. So, like, people who are 19 years old are making decisions and thinking thoughts that 19-year-olds would think. And it doesn't mean they don't have any life experience, but it's kind of like in medicine in the ER when we say you have just enough to know to get yourself in trouble. I think one of the things that like perpetuates this is when Feyre becomes unglamored. Like page
Let's
209,
talk about it.
210. I think I have so many like highlighted arrows and I'm like, this part and this part and this part. They're all so beautiful, very poetic, very magical. And Feyre gets this once in a lifetime experience. This experience of seeing the world in an altered state of mind, whether they call it unglamored, whether we would call it something else. All of these senses are in tune. Her sight, her thought, her smell, her hearing, even just touching the grass for her feels good. And it makes her think, now my eyes have really been opened. Now I thought I knew the world, but now I do know the world. And like, honey, you still have no idea.
So, one of the things that struck me about this is when he takes the glamour off of her, he's taking the mask off of the fairy lands and from her. As one mask that's been relieved. But Tamlin says to her, the High Fae don't give without getting something in return. This is when they make a deal. What he's doing is he's removing the glamour that he put on. He's not giving her anything. She already had this sight. If he hadn't put something on her non-consensually, she would be seeing everything. He took something from her, and now he's making it seem like a gift. Toxic flag number 17.
I've stopped tricking you. You're welcome.
Yeah. Exactly. And when you're reading it for the first time, you almost, as many people do in an unfortunately toxic situation, you say, oh, but look how beautiful this is. I can smell the sweet air. She smells magic, and it smells like jasmine and all these beautiful flowers and all of this. She's been smelling it the whole time. All he's given her now is a better scent. This whole removing the glamour has really rubbed me the wrong way this time, because also he doesn't give her any kind of warning. So she wakes up the next day, she falls asleep because of all this magic, and there's a stranger in her room, and it's Alice.
Alice, who looks like a tree.
And does she not recognize Alice's voice? Like, why? She's like, who are you? And Alice is like, girl, it's me. I've been here the whole time. Do you not recognize?
Homie, I'm
Do you
here.
not recognize my voice? I'm one of the 3 people you know.
And we know there's a lot of other people around.
A lot.
So one of the things I'm kind of interested in, we know Alice gives Feyre a lot of information. Remember, I've previously said the Fae may be able to lie, but the one thing they cannot do, apparently, is keep effing secrets. Why does Tamlin trust Alice so much to be the one person that takes care of Feyre? And Alice is the one person that is just bombing Feyre with truth.
So this is one thing I want to know. Okay, on page 201, we learned that she's originally from the Summer Court.
Oh my God, I have so much about Alice. I'm so glad we're going into this. I mean, I kind of started it, but I didn't know you were going to go into it. Let's do it.
She purposely left the Summer Court, left her nephews there to help Tamlin, which means that there had to have been, what does she think she's going to do? What help does she think she can do? And yet here she is, one of the 3 people / Fae that Feyre can see. Yeah, go.
Also, what is so bad that happens that I can't remember, that Alice comes to Spring Court, that her daughter and her son-in-law get killed, and she decides that Spring Court is the best option. I want to pay attention when we're going forward about what happens with Summer Court's blight experience if we ever get any descriptions, because why would she have to come here? She mentions it twice. She mentioned it several chapters ago, and she's mentioning it in this chapter chunk now.
Well, but if you recall, and if I recall correctly,
I recall nothing. You remember that. I remember nothing
I know.
ever.
One of these days you will. But Tamlin is the only High Lord that is out from under the mountain. So if you think Alice is saying, he's the guy who's going to fix this, maybe I can go and help, because Tarquin is a young High Lord, they say. Because I think Amarantha kills the previous High Lord. But if Tamlin is the hope and savior of all of the Fae because of Amarantha, that's how I took why Alice went to the Spring Court. But Alice is also the one that lets Mor take Feyre from the Spring Court. She is the one who says, be good to her, or whatever it is. We'll get that next book. But Alice lets her be taken.
Alice is the one that lets Mor take.
Alice is there and says, be good to her.
I don't even know what to say. I've nothing to say. I'm just going to have to throw it back to you because I'm dumbfounded. If we're already talking about Mor taking Feyre and Alice is the one that says yes, like, I have nothing to say. I'm going to need you to move on to another point, or I can move on, but I can't speak to this because that's mind-blowing because I don't remember that. Well, obviously I remember nothing, but like, how female-centered is that? Alice and Mor and Feyre.
Alice, who
I trust you,
almost becomes like a mother figure to Feyre.
And trust someone in the Night Court. Why does Alice trust Mor?
Not only someone from the Night Court, the second in command of the Night Court.
How does that happen? Alice knows things. I've been saying this from the get-go. Alice knows things, and we don't know what she knows. But she is like, that girl is gatekeeping.
When Feyre goes back to the Spring Court, she's the one who tells Alice, maybe you need to go to the Summer Court. And Alice is like, yeah, maybe I do. They've got such a complex and motherly relationship, but this is a very female relationship book. I have one more theme I wanted to bring up.
Yeah.
I want to bring up the theme of consent.
Girl. Oh my God. Yes. Do it.
Okay.
Do it. I know. I have it.
How interesting is it? When we first meet Tamlin, he is grabbing Feyre. He's constantly getting his claws out. At multiple points, he grabs her arms and he's hurting her because of her claws. We meet Rhysand in chapter 21. He keeps his hands in his pockets. The only time he does touch her is when it is to protect her from the other Fae. And then he lets go. No harm, no foul. And then he offers her his arm to escort her wherever she needs to go. It is her choice to put her hand in his, and she doesn't, and he doesn't force the fact. We also learn that magic can steal consent. This is the first time we're learning this. I just think these are the first times when we're seeing consent being offered. And it's really interesting. What are your thoughts?
I'm going to extrapolate on that. And it is a bigger topic, but we can focus in on that. I never wanted to leave this hilltop. I originally phrased this topic as fairy lore. I want to take it to where you went. We have all the fairy lore. Don't drink all the wine. Don't start dancing. Don't eat the food. All these things. But what ends up happening is when she first chugs the glass of fairy wine. And then he's like, I'm thinking I might kiss you. And she's wasted. She cannot stop drinking. In fact, on page 227, she has a quote that fulfills the like, don't start dancing with fairies. That is like, I never wanted to leave this hilltop. She's obviously wasted. Lucien is continually trying to pull her away through these several pages because he realizes, like, you shouldn't drink the fairy wine. She takes a big gulp and downs a glass.
Yeah.
Don't do it, Feyre. Stop. She downs another glass. And then everything that happens afterward, he kisses her. He starts dancing with her. His lips brush mine. I think I want to kiss you. I don't know. There's a lot of consent issues. And I don't want to be that girl that's like, I am so feminine forward that, like, if I have an alcohol drink and I want to make out with a guy, I can't make out with a guy because he doesn't have consent because I've had a drink. But there's like a grayscale, and Feyre's wasted.
Feyre has never had fey wine. And Lucien says, don't take it. This is going to mess you up. And she still does it because she's trying to make a point.
Also, so many things. First of all, Lucien walks away.
Well, he walks away because the High Lord is there and told him to.
Because Tamlin is watching her. Also, Feyre's never done anything like this before, and she's young. It does matter that she's young and she's inexperienced. It also doesn't matter if any person is altered. Period.
Sure.
Like,
agreed.
Regardless of your age. At 19, you are much more likely to be caught off guard because you have so much less experience than, like, you know, a woman who's experienced in her late 20s, 10 years older than Feyre. So many people see this and they're looking away.
But I think it's also the fear. They are scared of their High Lord. Now, while we're in this part of the chapter chunk, does any of this remind you of anything else?
Honestly, it reminds me of the Bargainer series, but that's different.
I put this down as foreshadowing because when they're under the mountain, Rhys makes her drink fairy wine and dance for him.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Can I talk about that real quick?
Please do.
Page 195. Here's what happens. Tamlin comes home in the morning and Feyre sees how his body has been painted everywhere. And it is not hard to see where all the women have touched him. And
does that happen to anyone else or anywhere else in this book?
Apparently, Rhys did not come up with this idea on his own.
I did not think this until this read.
I officially turn the page because that's all my points on that page.
This is my fourth read of this book. It never occurred to me that Tamlin comes back with whirls painted on him.
Swirls and whirls?
Are these ancient word marks? Because this is an ancient ritual that have been painted on his body, much like the symbols that Rhys paints on her. And much like Feyre can see who touched Tamlin, Rhys can see who touches her. He makes her drink fey wine and dance for him, much like Tamlin gives her fey wine and makes her dance for him.
Allows her. He doesn't make her. He allows her.
He allows her.
She wants to.
Yeah. But this
I'm not saying like, oh, she's asking for it. Sorry. No, I don't want that to be misconstrued in any way.
No, but this is, it's parallel. It's parallelism, right? Like, this is the good side, this is the bad side. When the good guy has it versus when the bad guy has it. Or is it? I just thought it was really interesting, this read, to be like, those swirls and whirls, yeah, I see them.
I always see the swirls and whirls.
I do
everywhere.
I can't not. Since we're kind of in this area, I have a crossover. So this is going to be the third crossover point that I'm talking about. Part of the Calanmai ritual is to kill a white stag. White stags are the symbol of
Terrasen.
Terrasen, and the king of Otterland had them all killed. And we are in a ritual that kills the white stags.
Where did you even see that? What
That's on
page is
page
that?
193, baby. At the bottom
Page
of the page.
193, kill stag. I gotta relook
Lucien
at that.
snorted. No one knows until it's time. After Tam hunts down the white stag and kills it for the sacrificial offering, he'll make his way to that sacred cave where he'll find the path lined with fairy females waiting to be chosen as his mate for tonight. Of all of the animals, the spring court is killing the white stag. What I want to see is a white stag come out of the woods in Tamlin's book.
I'm not gonna ask you to expand on this. I'm just gonna say there is some amount of a ring and a lookalike of Lysandra and a lookalike of Edian and rings that get passed around to family and then down family lines. And like Tamlin might be descendant of somebody who would be loving of a white stag. So like why we would kill a white stag, I don't know.
It's
just throwing it out there. It was my first thought.
I thought the same thing. Like, if we take, there's a fan theory that Tamlin is a descendant of Lysandra and Adian. Her shape-shifting, his green eyes. Adian is part of Terrasen, where we have the white stag, and the fact that, if that is true, a descendant of theirs has to kill a white stag every year for this ritual. But that's also what the king of Otterland has to do, or chooses to do, in Throne of Glass to destroy Terrasen. It's just really interesting, the layers of that. Well, can I do one last thing just because we're on the same page?
Yeah.
I have a question for you. So on page 192, this is when she's left Rhys, she sees Lucien, and she blinked at the same moment he did, and then his eyes went wide. He vanished into nothing, and a second later, someone grabbed my elbow and yanked me from the crowd. That's Lucien. And then further down the page, she says, I found that he was running fast, faster than anything should be able to move. Right. Like, she's running, like, they say that they're running, but is that when he vanishes into nothing, is that winnowing?
It sounds like he's winnowing.
And that's not something everybody can do, right? And Asriel can't winnow. He can go into the shadows. Like, it's almost like he goes into shadow. It's similar to winnowing, but he can't winnow. We'll put it in the encyclopedia to examine it next book. But it's interesting. My last crossover is the obvious one, is Rhys's eyes. We know he looks exactly like Rune. We always suspected it.
Rune, where have we heard that term
Rune
before?
Dannon, High Prince of the Valbaran Fae in Crescent City. We always suspected that they looked similar. In book 3 of Crescent City, it is confirmed that they are...
black hair and purple eyes.
Well...
You look similar.
Right. But it is confirmed that they look identical. At the end of Crescent City 2, Bryce looks up and she sees Rhys and she thinks... I mean, I'd have to get the quote, but she thinks he looks exactly like Rune. So we know
her brother.
Right. And on page 64 and 745 and 795 of Crescent City 1, his eyes are described similarly to Rhys's.
Yeah.
Blue, that they're almost violet. In Kingdom of Ash, Dorian's eyes are described as sapphire. I don't know if that would be similar, but
I don't think it is.
In Heir of Fire, Maeve's eyes on page 500 are described as starry eyes. Stars, night court, like, is that similar to Rhys? But then throughout the rest of the series, she's described as having black or obsidian eyes. So it's just something to think about, something that we should keep an eye on as we do it.
I have maybe 3 last things. One of them is Tamlin saying he and Feyre are falling asleep next to each other. He says, "You're exactly as I'd dreamed that you'd be like too."
Yeah. What does that mean?
What I think most likely is that he's known about this curse for a while and he's been dreaming of some random figure that's going to come and save him. I think it's very straightforward.
Yeah, I agree. It kind of threw me. This is, again, one of those things where I was like, is this SJM writing a first book and she doesn't know where she's going? Or is this maybe a red herring? Or is he maybe thinking she's someone else? I don't know. I did have one thing kind of referencing back to last episode with the mating bond. So way beginning of these chapters on page 198, she's meeting Rhys. This is the first time she's meeting him. And the drumming was increasing in tempo, building to a climax I didn't understand. Is that the mating bond? Happy that they are together, the mating bond that is building up to this crescendo. And it is peaking because the two mates have found each other. She never has this sensation with Tamlin.
Could it be maybe that it's the first time that they're in proximity?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Or is it just drums drumming? I don't think so, but you never know. But would you describe a drum line as building to a climax?
No, that sounds weird.
Does sound weird.
I wouldn't do that.
Specifically a climax you don't understand?
I only have 3 things left. Do you want me to go into one of them or do you want to go
Yeah.
into one of yours?
You go into yours.
Why is the severed head branded with night court symbols? Does someone else see that Feyre and Rhys are bonded?
I don't know if you are implying that it could be Lucien. I don't think it is because I think, again, he says it's not night court or autumn court. He doesn't recognize them. But Tamlin doesn't seem scared. He doesn't seem angry. On page 218, he says that this is a prank versus a threat.
Right.
This is not like, what kind of a prank is this? The bloody head of a fairy? But also, much like we're getting ACOTAR through Feyre's perspective, we're getting all of our information about the Night Court from Tamlin, who we know
exactly the
does
same.
not like the Night Court. So how evil are they? Now, part of me thinks the reason this situation happens is because Sarah J. Maas didn't know how she was going to do the story with Rhys, did not know how the Tamlin, Feyre, Rhys triangle was going to happen, and was going to make him a villain and then changed her mind. But we never see this sigil again. We know it is a sign of the Night Court. I mean, look behind you. That is what's on everything that is Night Court related, the 3 mountains and the 3 stars. But we never see it. But also, this is Rhys from a court of nightmares, not the court of dreams. We are seeing the monster that has been let out of the cage. If this is him.
That's what he says.
That's what he said.
At Calanmai.
What is the end game of putting the head of a dead fairy? And also, Feyre's the one that finds it. So, page 217. The Night Court does what it wants. They're all sadistic killers. They delight in torture of every kind. All of this imagery of these evil people. But when we go to the Night Court, we meet them and they are all just one big happy family. They love everything. But on like the 3rd or 4th hand, Cassian is known as the general of bloodshed. They are known for being vicious and cruel, and you don't mess with them. It's such an introduction to this specific court. Go for your pin.
On page 217, the Night Court. Why would they do this? She has a very valid question. I mean, she's only heard that Night Court is evil and they would do this just to play tricks on Spring Court. Why is it branded with a Night Court symbol? Is it Rhys doing something that's just, he's always picking lint off of his pocket. He always has his hands in his pockets. Is he flexing on Tamlin because he knows Feyre is his mate?
I think in the back of my mind, whenever I see things like this, so let's just take this at face value. Rhys is the one that cut the head off of this fairy, who we don't know where they're from. They're not part of the Spring Court, not part of the Autumn Court, and threw it into the Spring Court. That's weird. But then we also learn in later books that Rhys has been looking for the wings of his sister and his mother since they were killed, and he knows Tamlin has them. There is a lot of animosity between the two of them, and I can see him constantly picking at Tamlin until he gets what he wants. Yeah, go for your pen.
We know Rhys would not kill an innocent person just to make his point. So who is killing this person? Who's putting that on their neck, and to what end? What are we trying to get out of Spring Court by placing this head there? So who did it and why? What other court is going to try and blame Night Court for killing someone? And are they killing this person because they want to kill him and to cover it up?
I think you're right. Rhys wouldn't do it, but also the Rhys we know or learn to know wouldn't kill Claire Bedore, and he does. So that's one point. The other point is, you're right, he wouldn't kill someone innocent. Who's to say this guy's innocent? Maybe it's someone from the Spring Court or Autumn Court, and they're lying. We don't know. We are
But we never find it out.
Right. We never
At
find
least
it
I
out.
think.
I don't think we do. But I have one more point, which is something else we never find out, and it has now dug its claw into my brain. On page 211, Tamlin's talking about the glamour, and he says, being a High Lord, even one with limited powers, comes with physical markers too. It's why I couldn't hide what I was becoming from my brothers, from anyone. What are those physical markers? I don't think we ever learn. Does Rhys have anything that marks him as a High Lord? Does Tarquin? Do any of these? Does Helion? What are these physical markers other than their power?
He actually refers to it in earlier chapters too, when he's like, when you're becoming a High Lord, like you can't hide it. There's these things that people see.
Well, and I always took it to mean that his power was greater than his brothers, because I think that's how Lucien describes it when he's talking about his 7 brothers, how he was never meant to be the High Lord because he wasn't as powerful. He wasn't going to be that guy. What are these are they all the same physical markers? What are they? I don't know.
They are mentioned many times, but they are defined never, at least as far as I can remember, up to this point.
But also, we are on page 213 of the paperback book, and we have yet to meet another High Lord. Officially. We don't know who Rhysand is. We don't even know his name at this point.
We still don't even know his name.
Also, I love their first interaction when she's like, but you're not from the Spring Court. And he's like, no, you can see my face. I would rather die than be part of the Spring Court. The words were tinged with an arrogance that only an immortal could achieve. He laughed under his breath. No.
Oh.
I'm not part of the noble Spring Court, and I'm glad of it. He gestured to his face where a mask might go. I love this man.
The whole pages from 189 to 191 are filled with Night Court references. His clothes all black, molded from the night itself, night seeming to press in closer around him, tendrils of star-kissed trails. He removed his hand. This one. He removed his hand from his pocket and he picked something off. We know that lasts books and books and books. Lazy smile. Like, that's him. That is stereotypical Rhys. Like, it is who he is. That is what he says in books from now. This is the portrait that I give to everyone else, so they think I'm arrogant and they know I'm full of myself, and they know they should be scared because I am not scared, because I am full of myself and I am here and I'm standing strong. I'm looking you in your eye. Like, he doesn't even care. That is straight Rhysand.
Absolutely. I lied to you. I've got 2 little points, so let's do your points and then I will ask you my 2 last questions.
Feyre says, You never make me feel like a prisoner. She is so caught up in the Tamlin love story. But the thing is like, we know what happens in the future. He
Mhm.
does end up keeping her as a prisoner. But what I think is interesting is Tamlin's dad kept humans because he hated them and kept them as prisoners.
No,
Eventually, Feyre is
he kept them as slaves.
slaves.
They were
Right.
not prisoners. Sure.
Tamlin's dad kept people
Against their will.
because he hated them and could
Mhm.
abuse them. Tamlin keeps a human because he, quote, loves them. It's funny how, like, loved ones and enemies get treated the same way, even though your intentions are different.
And also on that page, since we're on 219, there was still more that he had yet to tell me about his family, his life before they'd been killed,
Oh,
they being his
yeah.
brothers and father and mother, and this title being thrust upon him. I don't think we ever learned these things. So I'm wondering if
Yeah.
this is a kernel for his book.
Yes, I have that highlighted too on page 219. I don't know, I think SJM's pretty tight with her, like, tying up loose strings.
Vaughn from Throne of Glass, she forgot about him. Well, we literally never meet him because she forgot about him.
Okay, my one last thing. Tell me your thoughts about the last few paragraphs of page 230. This is where her father said, "Let the sisters imagine a better place." And she couldn't believe it was possible. Then she says she's the happiest she's ever been in her life.
Sure. I think this is referring back to, I'm trying to find it, but I'm just not going to be able to. When he was saying how we all need hope and they have to have hope to endure. I think that that's that head in the sky kind of mentality of she couldn't see hope because she couldn't see past the desperation that they had, whereas her father was always looking for something better. And she can finally, now that she's not stressed and being the caregiver, now that she's not looking after the money, she can say, oh, there is more to this world.
How many times have we talked about how much Feyre hates her dad? And
Mm-hmm.
then how many times have we talked about how much Feyre loves her dad? I just wish I could marry my two sisters off and it could just be me and my dad. So then she has these memories of where her dad was like, "You should let your sisters just believe there's a better place." First of all, why is it fair that her sisters get to be protected and think that there's a better place in the
Mm-hmm.
world and Feyre doesn't? And then, second of all, she sounds exactly like a child of the blessed when she says that.
Oh, yeah.
She could literally go back and tell the children of the blessed, when the fairy take you in, you're right. You have the best food, you have the best life, you have the best clothes. It's so great. But it's also the fae that take her in and like threaten her life, and it's the Tamlin and the beast.
Two sides of the same coin.
I don't know how to balance that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, she hates her father, but she wants her father's love. And it's almost like she's giving up a part of herself, right? Like this is her leaning into a part of her that she's never had before or never accepted before. And I hadn't really considered like she is what the children of the blessed, the ideal for them. Not only is she accepted by the fae, she's being accepted by a high lord who has said, I want you to stay here. Don't you get it? I want you to stay here and safe in my manor. I want you to stay where I can protect you. That is the dream of every child of the blessed. I have two questions. The first one is on page 222. We learn that the summer solstice celebrates when the sun
Oh,
outshines the night. This is said by Tamlin. What would Rhys say about this celebration? But more importantly, what would Tarquin say about this celebration? Tarquin, who is the summer high lord, what's the spring court? He should have nothing to do with this. I just think it's interesting that this is being celebrated in the spring court, but on page 221, Alice is getting her prepared. And when I asked Alice whose people I'd learned were called the Urisk, she simply said, "Summer solstice. The main celebration used to be at the summer court, but ... Things are different. So now we have one here too. You're going." To the very top of the page. Are things different because there's no longer a High Lord of the Summer Court outside of the mountain, and Tamlin is just keeping these traditions going? Is he taking these traditions into his own court, as in trying to take the power from them? What does it mean? It was just something I wanted to think about / put a pin in / stick it in the encyclopedia of, we learn these things about how each court has their own celebration.
In a previous chunk of chapters, page 179, Tamlin says, "I know what day it is, but not to Lucien." The two of them faced nothing, something that wasn't there.
Well, okay, so you're right. This is from last episode. They're talking to the ACOTAR. Do you think that maybe by doing the spring Calanmai, the summer solstice, it's their way of tracking days until this 50 years comes to an end? Do you think it's their way of just tracking time? I know what day it is. It's 3 weeks before Calanmai. I know what day it is. It's 2 months before the summer solstice.
Yeah.
I know. Ugh, I know. Okay, my one last point. Last chapter chunk, Tamlin tells Feyre what Calanmai is. He's like, it's just a spring thing. Don't worry about it. If you see any Fae, ignore them and come back in. On 193, Lucien is the one who explains to her in detail what it means. And I know I mentioned this at the very beginning, but
In detail.
why is it Lucien, again, who is telling the secrets of the Fae kingdoms to this human, to Feyre? Why isn't it the High Lord? Is this part of the Beauty and the Beast curse? Is he trying to figure a way to tell her?
Rhys was there, and Rhys also didn't say anything. Lucien is like aware of something. I don't know. Why?
Yeah.
Why is it that happens?
I don't know. Do you have anything else?
I think I have check marks on everything.
I think that finishes this episode, and I think this episode is going to be our longest episode yet. Not sorry about it. Next week, we're going to be reading chapters 26 through 31, so we're doing more than 5 chapters of ACOTAR. And next week, we're going back to the human world. Full circle, baby! If you liked this episode, please like and subscribe below or wherever you get your podcasts. We can be found on Instagram at SJ Masterclass and by email sjmaasterclass@gmail.com. That's what our Instagram is. And we want to hear from you. What did you think of this episode? What did you think of the points we made? Agree? Disagree? Let us know in the comments.
Do you want to go and edit this episode? Maybe I'll see you in 15 minutes.
I tell you what I could really go for right now. I could go for a margarita.
Sounds delightful. I'll see you in 15.
See you in 15. Bye.
Bye.